Ketu in 2025. The fall of the elites has begun. I will remove their power. So we are just now, it's now Saturday, May 17th as I record this, 2025, starting tomorrow, May 18th. Ketu, the south node of the moon, is going to move into the sign of Leo. And this is going to bring the downfall of the elites, not just the ruling elites, but also the celebrity elites, the banking elites. It's going to bring down all of them. And this is going to last from May 18th of 2025 all the way into December of 2026. So you're going to want to stay for the whole video because I'm going to go through each one of the sections of Leo that Ketu goes into and what it will mean. So just to give you a little bit of background, Rahu and Ketu, the north and the south nodes of the moon, are moving into a very powerful position. I've already made a video about Rahu in Aquarius. The link will be in the description. Go and watch that. But again, very briefly, what is Rahu and Ketu? Rahu and Ketu are not physical planets. Planet just means moving through the sky. It doesn't mean ball of gas or rock. It means something that moves through our sky. So Rahu and Ketu do move through the sky. They are invisible to the eye. They are mathematical points. But more than that, they are actually energetic portals. They are the most important energetic portals that there are. Without Rahu and Ketu, your soul would not be able to incarnate into the third dimension. So Rahu and Ketu are the portals. Rahu is the portal that brings your soul into manifestation. It's what allows your soul to identify in this third dimensional video game. And Ketu is the portal that allows your soul to leave this third dimension. So a way to look at it, we live in a third dimensional reality, but imagine we lived in a two-dimensional plane. So imagine in that two-dimensional plane there's a third dimensional serpent, and it pokes its head up into the second dimension, and then it comes up and then it goes out and leaves. That creates two holes. But when you're in the second dimension, you don't see the whole serpent. You only see where these portals appear and disappear. And that is what it's like for us. We don't actually see this being, this power, known in the third dimension as Rahu and Ketu, which is a giant naga, a giant serpent. And so when you look at it that way, Rahu, you could look at all the superficial understandings of Rahu, and that would be true if you're attached to the third dimension. But Rahu really is the portal through which the soul is allowed to electromagnetically attach. And in order to do that, you have to have desires, you have to have ambitions, you have to have obsessions, you have to have addictions. Those are the things that super glue you to the third dimension. Because the truth is, how many of you haven't at many points in your life gone, you know what, if I could just leave, I would just leave this crazy place? Well, you can't, no matter how much you want to. You're super glued here. Your soul desires for experiencing the third dimension. Rahu has placed you here. When you look at somebody's chart, where Rahu is, you're going to see where all of their obsessions and their attachments and the things that they go after in life that they never get enough of. That's Rahu. Ketu is the opposite. Ketu is the portal that allows the soul to leave the third dimension. So what has to happen? you have to lose all of your attachments. You have to lose all of your desires. So wherever you find Ketu in somebody's chart, Ketu will be destroying whatever that place is about in the third dimension. If there are planets there, for instance, if Ketu is conjunct Venus, not in all cases, but in some cases, it means the person is incapable of finding love, of having love, I've known people who've had this Venus Ketu conjunction, and they can fall in love very easily, but as soon as they fall in love, they just lose all desire. And in fact, they can't tolerate it and they have to leave. Well, those kinds of things, Ketu destroys your third dimensional attachment to whatever he's associated with. So if you're spiritual, if you're completely focused spiritually, which is why people say if you want to get over the problems of Rahu and Ketu, you should worship Shiva. Because Shiva represents somebody who's the consciousness that's completely, totally, fully enlightened, outside of the third dimension, can walk in here, walk out. Shiva can walk around the third dimension naked, unkempt, and, hanging out in, with criminals and hanging out in places that you're not supposed to go, like into burial grounds and things. He can walk through that because he's immune to that. He has no desires. He's filled with love. He loves everybody. You're walking around in the third dimension. He loves you. You're above it all. He loves you. You're in hell. He loves you. He doesn't have any judgment. That is why, because that's very Ketu. So Ketu hits Shiva and it just makes him happier because he goes into a higher state of spiritual connection. Rahu hits Shiva and Shiva goes, wow, that's really interesting. You like doing that. Oh, that's cool. No, that's okay. I don't need that. Yeah, sure, I'll try that. But no, I'm okay with that. So we have Ketu. The portal that leaves the third dimension is now coming over Leo. What is Leo? Leo represents the soul. So when you have Rahu in the seventh and Ketu in the first, in this scenario, what you have is you have the opposite of what you would expect. If it was Rahu in Leo, then it would be a tyrant. It would be somebody who absolutely wanted to rule the world and everything, because Rahu is all about the attachment. So what happens when you turn it around? Ketu is in Leo. The soul then doesn't have any attachment. The soul then becomes connected to the higher dimensions. So it's ironic because the sign of Leo is most associated with Ketu in the nakshatra of Magha, which we're going to talk about, which is where Leo gets all of his ruling power. And Magha is ruled by Ketu, which means that the true king throughout history has always been a person who has only sought to transmit the divine. If they are put in a position of rulership, their thought is, how can I be simply a channel through which divine energy can protect and surround and educate and help my people? That's the true king. So let's get into that. Why is this so important? I'll just go ahead and get started. So in May of 2025, so I've got up here Ketu and Leo 2025 to 2026, downfall of elites, rise of the true king. In May of 2025, specifically May 18th, 2025, Ketu is going to enter the final pada of the nakshatra called Uttara Falguni. So nakshatras are the Vedic star constellations. And so they have each star constellation has 4 separate sections which deal with different things. I won't get into all that. It gets very complicated, but each star constellation has something that's important to it, that it is all about. So, Uttara Falguni. we're going to see a return to spiritual and social righteousness. What do I mean by that? So, Uttara Falguni means going back to either the law of the land. Now, the law of the land is not the law imposed by false elites. That's not the law of the land. The law of the land, what the land requires. So it means, when you live on a land and you spiritually connect to it, how does that land want you to interact with it? How does the unconscious mind of the people who are connected to that land, how do they want things to be done? The true way, the best way, the way that helps them and helps the land. Doesn't help individuals or elites. It helps everybody be their happiest, their freest, their most powerful. What are the laws of the land? So this is going to be the return of that. That's what this means. And social righteousness. So return to spiritual and social righteousness. It also means returning to the true laws of spirituality, not religion, but the spirit. So following the laws of the spirit, following the laws of the land, and these are things that bring prosperity to the people. Now, this is something a king is interested in. So that's why it's the first part of this. All right, so Ketu now is going to come and connect to this concept, return to spiritual and social righteousness. So Ketu represents a window into the past. So whenever Ketu shows up, what's going to happen is you are going to have to return to past life imbalances. So Ketu will bring on both sides. On the negative side, your past life imbalances, your karma. Ketu wants you to balance that because Ketu is trying to get you out of here. Ketu says, listen, I'm the bus out of here. You want to go? You want to leave and be free to the matrix? I'm the guy. First thing you got to do, let's get rid of all of the past stuff that you did wrong that's attaching you to the past. So these things will come up. Ketu represents the knowledge and the power of the ancestors, the first souls that came into existence. So these are the beings that are constantly seeking to bring people back to the truth of their essence. Ketu wants to bring you back to your soul. And so wherever Ketu goes, that's what's going to happen. There's going to be past life stuff that's going to have to be exposed and dealt with, and then bring you back to the spiritual purity of whatever is associated in that place. So, May, Uttara Falguni, Ketu is going to come over that, return to spiritual and social righteousness. What does that mean? That means everything that is not in alignment is going to be revealed and destroyed. As Ketu destroys that which is not purely spiritual, that which is superficial, and traps you in the third dimension. So that means the people are going to start realizing on a deeper level, hey, this is how things need to be. I'll just give you an example because we're seeing the effects of this. So when something powerful is coming along astrologically, before it actually hits, the waves of it start hitting. We're seeing this. Just to give you an example, here in Florida, unbelievable things are happening. There's other things happening in other parts of the federal government here in the United States, but in Florida, one thing has already happened. They have already outlawed chemtrails over Florida. So that law, unfortunately, won't go into effect until October, but it is passed. That means it is illegal in Florida to fly overhead and release any kind of particulate matter into the clouds. No cloud seeding, none of that. Absolutely no weather control will be allowed. Now, whether or not they can enforce that, I don't know. But that's a big deal. That means the consciousness, because just 5 years ago, people didn't believe in it. Nobody believed chemtrails is a conspiracy theory. That's not a real thing. Now people know, especially now that they're coming out and saying it. In the UK, they're actually planning on using chemtrails to block out the sun. They're openly saying that they want to do that in one of the cloudiest, coldest places on Earth. So the fact that a state government has voted to outlaw this, it means that the consciousness, I think this is also going on in Texas. So if it's starting in Texas and Florida, it's going to start going in a bunch of other places as well. It's going to take over the whole world eventually. So that means that the law of the land is now coming back into effect. Ketu, just the vibrations of Ketu moving, getting ready to come into Leo, has already got governments, people in elite governmental positions, bringing us back to the law of the land. Watch, more and more of this is going to happen, especially when Ketu gets here. Spirituality. So the true spiritual law, we are seeing this as well. More and more people are looking past all of religious nonsense. Now, my prediction is the fake, new agey kind of spirituality that is still, really sort of, ruling over the YouTube airwaves. We're going to see more and more of that dissolve and go away, and true spirituality is going to come. So anyway, we can talk about that in other videos. So that's starting in May. From May to July, there's going to be a continued return to spiritual and social righteousness. And then Ketu is going to enter in Purva Falguni in July of 2025. And this is going to mean the destruction of celebrities and the rise of spiritual artists. Why do I say that? So Purva Falguni is a nakshatra that has to do with creativity. Now, how can I say this and stay on YouTube? So the Denney trial, what are the two things that come together there? You've got celebrities and artists, and you've got child, right? So sexuality. Purva Falguni is a very sexy nakshatra. Am I going to sneeze? Excuse me. All right, so we're seeing that, the Denney trial. So it's just now getting started. We're in May, and that's just the beginning. Once that domino falls, it's gonna take down so many celebrities who are involved in child and sexual trafficking. You're going to see all of that get exposed. That's my prediction. Hopefully I'm accurate. But we're already seeing it. We're already seeing it. The Denney trial is, again, that's something that you think about it, that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. It's happening now. Things that couldn't have happened are happening all over the place. We can get into more of that later. All right, so we're going to see the destruction of the celebrities and rise of spiritual artists. So why is this important? So you have, what we're seeing the destruction of the elites, the destruction of the king, the current king, the tyrant, the destruction of the ruling class. So, a smart ruler has layers of protection in front of him. And the outermost layer of protection is going to be the propaganda arm. So having been in the movie business, I tried, as you know, I tried to become an actor years ago. I mean, I was an actor. I did bit parts in movies and stuff like that, independent stuff. And I ran a theater company, my own theater company, with some other people in Hollywood, California. And I know from personal experience that the people who make it in Hollywood, they don't make it necessarily because they are talented. In fact, the first big casting director agency I was referred to by a very powerful casting director who saw me in some stage work and referenced me, gave me a recommendation to a big agency that was representing like the most powerful, people in the business. Of course, they're all dead now, but anyway. So I go in there thinking I'm a shoo-in. This casting director tells me that, but I'm thinking they're going to roll out the red carpet for me and say, "Where do you want to sign?" And the person says, "How does so and so know you?" And like very kind of upset about it, and then said, after looking at my resume, which had all kinds of awards and things like that on, she looks at me and she says, "We don't care how much talent or training you have. It's about who you know." And then she laughed. She thought that was hilarious. So I learned from the get-go that it has nothing to do with your talent. Now, in hindsight, I've looked into some of this and I found out that some of the huge stars, of course, many of them are related to stars. It's just passed on from father and mother to son. George Clooney, for example, look at who his mother is. That's just one example. But I've also found that a lot of actors, when you find out who their parents worked for like the CIA and the FBI. So that tells you this is a propaganda arm. So celebrities, movies, musicians, dancers, artists, the people, the king, the tyrant, the corrupt leader, is thinking about how to control that outer arm of protection, which is the propaganda arm. And so the first layer is going to be the celebrities. And what is happening now? We are seeing this happening already. It's going to explode. Come July, it's going to explode. So you're going to see, again, I could go through, I mentioned George Clooney. His reputation's been trashed because of, his connection in politics. And now they've set him up as the scapegoat for the guy who, ended up getting rid of Joe Biden. Like, an actor has the power to get rid of, a president. He's a scapegoat. And Robert De Niro, he's been completely flipping out and, ruined his career. He went from the most respected actor in Hollywood, now he's a joke. And Katy Perry is the latest one. She just went and did a promotional thing for her tour, and went in a fancy rocket ride up to the top of the atmosphere and then came back down 10 minutes later. And because she tried to promote herself, people have just been trashing her. She's now going crazy and doubling down about why she did something important for, the human beings and the for feminism and for young. I did this for young children and nobody's buying it. She did that 10 years ago. People would have praised her for it. I mean, I feel kind of bad for her. Not that, she's I don't know her personally, but clearly she is a narcissistic kind of, typical. You can't be that famous and not be narcissistic. Doesn't mean she's a narcissist, but very wrapped up in herself and promoting herself. And, she's middle-aged now and she's trying to look really young and hot and sexy. And clearly her value system for herself is based on what everybody thinks about her. And that would have worked 10 years ago. And now it's crashing. So I feel sorry for her because she's not doing anything different than what she would have done 10 years ago. It's just nobody wants it anymore because people are starting to put it together. They're starting to realize the Diddy trial is showing that what's happening is that celebrities are hand in hand, Diddy and Obama, with the elites. And then all this other stuff that's coming up about, dark rituals and child kitty and all kinds of other stuff, and this is now linked to Hollywood, to the music industry. So celebrity, that arm of the propaganda machine is crumbling. Now, the elites, the king, that doesn't affect him yet, because he's got a couple other layers in front of him before he's taken down. But that's that first one. The celebrities really act as the glue between the elites and the average person, the working class. The working class has always worshipped, actors and musicians, thinking that those are my people, when in reality we now see they're put in that position so that they can be a propaganda arm. So that's all coming down. That's gonna really start coming down in July. And we have the rise of spiritual artists. So Ketu, again, because this represents artistry, Purva Falguni, is that what I'm talking about? Yeah, Purva Falguni represents artistry and represents all the things associated with artistry and performance. So first thing that happens is Ketu has to come and destroy the false, which is what we're seeing. But then what's going to happen is Ketu is going to enhance the true aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of artistry and performance. And what you're going to start seeing is you're going to start seeing musicians, painters, artists, poets, writers. They're going to start creating works of art that have actual multi-dimensional power to them. So if, for instance, if somebody has this power and they're a singer, when you listen to them, when they sing, you will get hit with higher dimensional energy. That will be Ketu bringing the truth of that into them. They will most likely be complete unknowns. They might be somebody living in a third world country with nothing. They might just be a nobody, but somebody's going to pick it up on their iPhone and going to promote that. If it's somebody who paints, they'll be able to literally paint portals to other dimensions. So on and on and on. Performers, people who make movies, people who perform, when they perform, they will be portals of spiritual power that comes through them. So this is what Ketu is going to bring, at least the beginnings of it, in July of this year. All right, I just got hit with energy as I said that, so that there must be some truth to that. All right, April through December of 2026, Ketu hits Magha Nakshatra. This will be the end of the elites, the rise of the true king. You based on what you just heard me describe, you now get what's going to happen. First thing that's going to happen is that Ketu is going to now climb over and be on top of his own point in his own nakshatra. So Ketu rules over Magha, which means great, which means powerful. You can hear by the way it sounds. It's the same root for mighty. If you look at the way mighty is spelled, Mighty. How is Magha spelled? Magha. It's the same word. Machtik. The word more comes from mag. The er means to expand something. So first you have mach, which is great, and then you have macher, which is greater, more, and then you have machest, which is greatest, most. So you have great, more and most. Comes from this expansive, powerful word. And Ketu, the portal to the fifth dimension that destroys the third dimension, is the power behind true leadership. And so as Ketu moves through the different nakshatras of Leo and gets to Magha, so what has he done? He's gone through, we'll go through this. He goes through the spiritual and social righteousness. He goes over the law of the land and true spiritual understanding. So he's destroying religion. He's destroying false laws that trap you. And then he moves over into celebrity and artistry. And he purifies that and destroys the negativity. He's going through all of the protective barriers. First, the understanding of the law, what true law is, what really is the best thing for people, laws that have been passed. That is one of the king's protection. That's gone. Then he comes to the next level, which is the propaganda arm, which is all of the media, which is all of the artists, which is all of the actors, the celebrities, and Ketu destroys that. So that protection is gone. So there's now what is left. The left is, what's left now is his power. I have the right to rule. I've been given this authority by whatever. I was voted in, or, whatever he's going to say, what makes him king. And what's going to happen is that Ketu is going to destroy any power that rulers have that don't come from the spirit, which is, in our world, all of them. They don't have any rulership coming from from God, from the spirit. They don't have it. And then, so what does Ketu do? Ketu then, after he destroys the negative, he brings out the positive. So what could that possibly mean? It could mean, I don't know if it is. It's just, I'm just following the astrology here. And I'm feeling all kinds of energy surrounding this. This could mean that if there really is, according to the Hopi, there's a Bahana, somebody who's going to come and restore order and destroy the elites and, rule the world. If there is a Messiah, somebody who's going to come and rule from the place of spirituality. If there's going to be, like in the Norse tradition, they talk about after Ragnarok that there's going to be, the spiritual king who comes down and rules from, the throne of spirituality or whatever. I forget how they call it. Maybe that's all, metaphorical. Maybe it's all symbolic. Maybe it's real. Maybe there will be some powerful being from another dimension will come into Earth and, sit on the throne and bring spiritual truth to the world. Maybe it'll be the 5D, the higher frequency. So something is going to happen December 2026 when Ketu goes over Magha. Something very powerful will at the very least begin, if not fully come to fruition. So I'm just guessing here. I'm not making any psychic predictions. I can tell you based on the information that has been given to me by my higher dimensional friends of recent, that we are entering something extremely powerful. I just happened to notice that we're about to enter into Ketu going over Leo. And so I had it backwards when I made this video the first time. I thought Ketu was going to hit Magha first, but it's actually Ketu's going backwards. So Ketu's going to hit Magha at the very end. So why is this important? And I'm bringing it to the very end because Ketu is going to go through the 4 different sections of Magha until he gets to the last one, which is what's called the first pada. So the first pada of Magha, which will be the last place that Ketu sits before he leaves Leo and goes into Cancer in December of 2026. This is extremely important. So Magha is Regulus. Regulus means the king, the regent. And it's a star in the sky and represents the rulers of kings. And so the planet that rules over this star is Ketu. That on the surface is opposite of the ruler. The ruler you would think would be somebody who's very physical, very into surfacey, superficial earth, into money, power, prestige, all of those things which are superficial 3D attachments. So the fact that the true king has none of this, in fact, that is destroyed, taken out. So the opposite of that would mean that a true king, a true ruler, is somebody who gets their power from the portal to higher dimensions. The person who's actually can walk into death and come back, they have no attachment. Somebody who is literally a portal, a conduit of higher dimensional energy. Again, I'm just telling you what it means, what Ketu ruling Magha means. Now in the 4 padas, the first pada of any nakshatra, like if you're born in the first pada of a nakshatra, it means that you live, like your essence lives there. Each of the succeeding padas means that you're in relation to it, you're outside of it, you have a connection to it. But anything that is born at the first pada of any nakshatra, it means that their essence lives there, not here. So their essence is not in this world, it's in whatever that nakshatra is about. So it's interesting that Ketu is going to go through all of those, and the last place that Ketu hits before he leaves the sign of Leo, it's going to be really kind of like the revealing of the true power of the king. So there's a planet that rules over a nakshatra, and then there is a deity that rules over a nakshatra. So the planet is Ketu. We already talked about what Ketu is. And the deity is the Pitris, which means ancestors. Now, I'm here to tell you that the ancestors are not, Abraham Lincoln or the people that, are 2 or 3 generations behind you. That's not who the ancestors are. They're your ancestors, don't get me wrong. The true ancestors are the beings of light, the first progenitors of consciousness. And these beings are so powerful, and they have so much wisdom and so much knowledge that there literally is no other deity that is qualified to rule over true rulership of the 3rd dimension. So the true rulership of the 3rd dimension is the light beings. So another way to look at it is that Ketu is a portal to higher dimensions. This portal is now going over the one aspect that goes directly to the ancestors, directly to the originators of life, to the most primordial beings of existence. What does that mean? It means that portal now will allow those beings and that energy to come into the third dimension. Now, what could that possibly mean? I think on the extreme end, that could mean the end of the third dimension. Now, Ketu has done this numerous times throughout, many times throughout history, so clearly that doesn't have to be the case, but that is going to, at least while Ketu is there, that's going to be the energy. So this is when you could have true freedom come to people. And so if there are going to be leaders, whoever these leaders are, the ones that will benefit the most after this will be the ones who are completely devoted spiritually, and they're literally channels of higher dimensional energy. They will be rulers who have no interest in themselves. They will only be focused on the spiritual, physical, mental, psychological well-being of all beings on planet Earth. They will have no personal agenda. They will have no selfish agenda. So it'll be the end of the narcissists. If the full force of this is released. Now, there are other things going on that are helping this. Right now we've got Jupiter in a very powerful position, which is giving power to all of the things that we're talking about. And if you look at what's been happening just over the past few months, especially here in the United States, you can see that the rumblings for this has already begun. So with Ketu coming in through the next year and a half, I believe you're going to see a lot of the power, if not all of the power of the elites being completely eradicated. Or at the very least, we will look back in history in time and we'll go back and go, yeah, from 2025 to 2026, that's when it all started coming down. So anyway, all right, so today is Saturday and we are going to be doing a live guided CE5 meditation at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're not familiar with that, it means human initiated contact with extraterrestrials. So we've been doing the live guided interdimensional meditation. We've been doing it twice a week. That has been just completely beating the crap out of me because the energy that goes through me when I do it, just been almost destroying me. But I've been noticing less and less people showing up, and recently I've been seeing people just kind of disappearing. I don't know what that's about, but my instinct is telling me that the energy is getting very intense, and so people are backing away from the interdimensional stuff because it's too intense, too crazy, too frightening. And so I'm going to just do the live guided meditations once a week on Wednesday. We'll see how that goes. And then every Saturday, we're going to be doing these live guided CE5 meditations. And the point of that is to make direct contact with higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings of light who are currently around our planet, and to invite them to come into your physical space. So what I've come to find out is that I believe that the most powerful thing any human being can do to shift their frequency is to be in physical proximity to this higher dimensional electromagnetic frequency that these beings have. And so, I'm okay if a being shows up in full form in your home and you can take pictures and take selfies with them, great. My experience is that's not what happens. What happens is you look around, maybe you'll see an orb, maybe your radio might do weird stuff if they're trying to prove to you that they're really there. But really what's going to happen is that a being of light will come into your third dimensional space in your home, and very likely you will feel a very powerful, very loving energy, and you might even be able to communicate with them telepathically or otherwise. And my goal is to help you create a relationship, an ongoing relationship with those beings, because once you invite them into your presence and you keep that invitation open-ended, they will continue to come into your frequency and start shifting you. That's what's been going on with me for the past 3 years now. So I want to invite you to have that same experience. So we will be doing that every Saturday, human-initiated contact with ETs. And that's when Dr. Greer does his. He does his on Saturdays as well. So we'll be teaming up with him and whoever else is doing CE5 on Saturdays. And also, I'm going to be doing more of these live channeling with extraterrestrials. So that's where I just show up, a live stream, and I just channel whatever information is given to me. I might take some questions, but as I found out, people start treating me like a circus act and, tell me where my keys are and how's my dead cat doing and those kinds of things. So instead, I'm going to be focusing on just channeling whatever information comes to me. If you're watching the channel, you see how powerful these ET channelings are. If you want one of your own, go to channel.thunderwizard.com. If you're one of those people, because of how powerful the interdimensional meditations have started to become, if you're one of those people that got a reading from me and the energy is getting intense and it's getting freaky and you're starting to freak out because your reality is coming apart, I encourage you to go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong and do those energy practices. They will help you. Or go to the shop and do the Awakening the Immortals, the Celestial Qigong, the Maoshan 5-element practices. Those will help your nervous system and your meridian system be able to handle the higher dimensional energy. Because I've come to find out that the Maoshan practices came from higher dimensional light beings. Those are the beings that gave it to humans. And so by doing that, you're actually connecting yourself on that frequency, and it's easier for them to connect with you. So that's it for me, my friends. If you want to find my books, michaeldenney.org. I love you all, and I appreciate all of you, and I will see you all very soon. Until such time, please take very good care of yourselves.